Hi, I'm Reverend Paula Skiles with Unity Church of San Marcos, and we welcome everyone online and everyone who's with us today. Thank you for being here on this joyous, wonderful day of love at Unity Church. And we are blessed to have our guest speaker, our licensed Unity teacher, Linda Gillespie, and our musician, India Taylor, with us today to offer a fabulous service. So find yourselves, get somewhere comfortable, and as we move forward with this wonderful time for each of us to experience a sense of greater knowing. Linda?
Thank you, Paula. I'm going to put this little guy away so I have hands. My mother always told me that I couldn't talk without my hands. Good morning, everyone. What a joy it is to be here with you as we celebrate love. That's the topic for love. I have a friend that is a very dear friend. She edits my talks for me. I call and I read them to her, and we discuss all these things. And I was having a little difficulty last night, and I was getting ready to read through it again. And she said, Linda, what is the message that you want to bring today? In one sentence. I said, love is all there is. There's nothing else but love. And she said, does that mean that everything else is an illusion? And I said, well, yeah, because all that there is for me is love. And on this third Sunday of Advent, everybody knows what Advent is. It's the 4-week period of preparation for the Nativity of Jesus Christ at Christmas. And today, as you are very well aware, our focus is love. Love is a huge subject, and it is the most used subject by poets and philosophers. So I don't really think that most people think of love as love truly is. What does love mean? Well, the very first thing when that kind of question comes up for me is to Google, what's love? And according to the Oxford Dictionary, the first one says an intense feeling of deep affection. Well, yeah. The second one is a great interest and pleasure in something. Yes. And there's more than that. In the revealing word, Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, says, love is the pure essence of being that binds together the whole human family. I think he was onto something. He then expands it, saying, of all the attributes of God, love is undoubtedly the most beautiful. In divine mind, love is the power that joins and binds in the divine harmony of the universe and everything in it. The great harmonizing principle. Divine love is impersonal, he says. It loves for the sake of loving. It is not concerned with what or who it loves, nor with the return of love. Love is an inner quality that sees good everywhere and in every body. Divine love will bring your own to you. adjust all misunderstandings, and make your life and affairs healthy, happy, harmonious, and free. I like what Fillmore has to say. Love is most often confused with intimacy, connection, and compatibility, as the Oxford Dictionary defines it. But love, as I have said, is much greater than that. And as I was preparing for this, a couple of stories came to mind that I want to speak to, because they, for me, make Fillmore's definition very clear. Around the time that I was beginning my classwork to become an L.U.T, they were publishing monthly a magazine called The Path, and there was a column for prayer requests. And the vice president of the Association of Unity Churches, which is what it was called at that time, Carl Osher, posted a prayer request for a kidney. And it just went out to all the ministers, people who had subscribed to this magazine. And there was a guy who had just retired from the Navy. He was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. And he knew that what he wanted to do with the rest of his life was to minister to people in unity. And he was working on his ministerial path. He saw Carl Osher's prayer request. And Jim Roseberry just set about finding out what he needed to do to donate one of his kidneys to Carl Osher. I don't know how well acquainted, if they were acquainted at all at the time. But this is what they did, because Jim Roseberry's everything matched Carl Osher's. And he donated his kidney 20 years ago. They're both happy, healthy men. 20 years ago. That's love, my friends. That's how love works. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what it is. If that is what is yours to do, you don't question it. You just do it. Because that's what you're created for. We're going to talk a little more about that kind of thing. And then my second story is a little fresher, newer. As I watched the celebrations of life for the former First Lady, Rosalind Carter, a couple of weeks ago, I came to a deeper understanding of the love that Charles Fillmore describes. The way Rosalind Carter loved people, all people, not just her family, not just close friends. She loved everyone. And as I listened to different people speak, her sons, grandsons, granddaughters, great-grandchildren, speak of her love for everyone. And how they spoke about her sounded like what Charles Fillmore defined love as being, because she loved for the sake of loving. She was not concerned about who she loved, nor if the love was returned. Love, because love was an inner quality that she was born with, that we're all born with. And she saw good. She saw good everywhere and in everybody. According to Wikipedia, she was an American writer, activist, humanitarian who served as First Lady, as the wife of President Jimmy Carter. Throughout her decades of public service, she was perhaps best known for her being a leading activist for women's rights and mental health. That's the way she'll be described in history books. However, there's so much more to Rosalind Carter than that. I found myself at times thinking about what Reverend Kelly Ossola, who asked this question last year in a Christmas article. Her question was, what does loving look like? What does it look like? She followed it up with, while I have been born with the capacity to love, doesn't necessarily mean I know how. Love is like anything else that we learn. We learn by doing it. Our ABCs. We learn to walk by walking. We learn to love by loving. Rosalind Carter knew how to love because she was born with the capacity to love and learned to love by loving, the same way that all of us learn to love. I think that she believed with every fiber of her being that love was the most important thing of all, before faith and hope, which are necessary to be able to express love to the degree that she was able to do it. In Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 13, defines love as like this. And now abideth faith, hope, and love. All three. But the greatest of these is love. The former First Lady's services, and I did say services because there were three, were officiated by her pastor, Reverend Tony Loudon. And his main focus at all three of them, can you guess what it might have been? It was love. He focused on how she loved. And he would call different people, whether they were family, friends, associates, and he even spoke to the love that she had for her Secret Service people. They were with her, after all, for 46 years. But she loved lavishly. All that she was able to accomplish in her 96 years, all that she was able to accomplish in her 96 years is remarkable. And it is all because of the man whose birth that we celebrate in this season of Advent. It's evident to me that Jesus was probably her very first love. And the depth of that love made it possible for her to love as unconditionally as she did. Loving means being vulnerable every day, seeing and accepting others with new eyes. And doing this, we have an echo of perfection. The thumbprint of our loving, divine nature that says, love was here. The question remains for us, what does loving look like? For me, Charles Fillmore's statement that love is the pure essence of being that binds together the whole family, the whole human family, feels like the answer. We are the glue that holds us all together. We are necessary. We are indispensable. Will you hear that? Will you hear that? You are necessary. Right here, right now, on this planet. It would not be, will not be, the perfection that it is today without you. You are necessary. You are indispensable. It's for me to be conscious of love no matter the circumstances or situations that I find myself in. And I find myself in some really big messes sometimes. Well, we'll set that aside. And all of that reminds me of my little sticky note on my computer that's been there for years. And I may have even mentioned it to you before because it's something that's very workable for me. And that little note says, I do not have to like the situations, circumstances I find myself in, but it is imperative that I like who I am in that situation. I may not be able to change the circumstances, but I can take care of me. I can make sure that I'm coming from a place of love. When I consciously embrace that understanding, I realize it's impossible to be separated from love. We can't be. Which means that I can't be unloved or unlovable. When I forget that I am loved, when I forget who I am, I find myself in the pit of despair, which means a lot of pain and suffering for me to figure out what I've lost, which is contact with that love. And then I think about Mary, the mother of Jesus. What did that beautiful young woman experience 2,000 plus years ago in that culture? The angel of the Lord came to her and told her that she would give birth to a son whom she was to name Jesus, and that he would be the Son of the Most High. What? I'm a virgin. I'm engaged to be married. How can this be? And he went about telling her how this would all happen. And the beautiful part of it was that in spite of all the angst that she probably would experience, the gossip, the ridicule, all of that, the angel of the Lord, when he visited her, was able to put her mind and heart at ease. He came to her and said, "Greetings, favored one." Favored one. The Lord is with you. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. Nothing will be impossible for God. And Mary heard that at the core of her being. And she said, "Here am I, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your work." Luke 1:28, 30, 37, and 38. Mary's statement in verse 38 was an expression of love that, as an act of will with intention and action. She heard at the core of her being what was hers to do. And she said yes. And then, after riding on the back of a donkey for who knows how long, to arrive in Bethlehem, only to discover that there was no room for her and Joseph. No room. Her delivery time came shortly after that, as the story goes. Mary gave birth to Jesus in a stable. Every aspect of the birth of Jesus, our master teacher, our brother, was as it was. In unity, as we prepare to celebrate the birth of the Christ child, we are also preparing for the rebirth of the Christ in each of us. And as we are preparing for the rebirth of the Christ in each of us, I'd like to share a poem with you by Anne Weems from her book, Kneeling in Bethlehem. That poem will take us into meditation. The title of the poem is In Search of Our Kneeling Places. In each heart lies a Bethlehem, an inn where we must ultimately answer whether there is room or not. When we are Bethlehem bound, we experience our own advent in His. When we are Bethlehem bound, we can no longer look the other way, conveniently not seeing stars, nor hearing angels' voices. We can no longer excuse ourselves by busily tending our sheep or our kingdoms. This Advent, let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that the Lord has made known to us. In the midst of our shopping sprees, let's ponder in our hearts the gift of gifts. Through the tinsel, Let us look for the gold of the Christmas star. In the excitement and confusion, in the merry chaos, let's listen for the brush of angel wings. This Advent, let's go to Bethlehem and find our kneeling place. And as we move into meditation, I just invite you to breathe 3 deep breaths. There's magic in 3 deep breaths that moves us to the core of our being. Where we truly experience oneness with God. We are blessed beyond measure. As we go to Bethlehem, in this moment, to see the thing that the Lord has made known to us. What is that thing that has been made known to us? We know what that is because we were born with that knowing. Made in the image and likeness of God, we know. If we just allow ourselves to ponder it and to go there. And for each of us, what does loving look like? It's different for all of us. It's a part of the reason we're here, why we're necessary, why we're indispensable. As we rest in the silence, listen. Listen. For the breath, the brush of angels' wings. as we bring our time of meditation to a close, just gently bring yourselves back into this room. You may want to wiggle your fingers, your toes, roll your head, whatever it takes to bring you back here to this moment. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Linda, for being with us and for sharing our
My joy.
message today. And we thank all of those of you who are with us online for being with us. And God bless you. And we pray that this time of holidays enlightens or uplifts you and brings you to a greater sense of the Christ within you. God bless you.